So let's talk about the transits that are at play. I am a Venus in Leo, and Venus is transiting Leo right now. I can feel this energy. I feel like the sun itself. Like, this is why I'm wearing this color, right? Like, I feel vibrant. I feel a surge of energy of love. And I felt like this was the opportune time to record this episode, Love Notes. This episode is inspired by my own personal journey, the miraculous movements. There has been reunion since the last time I have recorded. I'm just in awe. So I will give a little summary. Me and my twin flame, we have been in physical separation for the past year. Even though we have been consciously working through some hard lessons and healing through some things, coming into forgiveness, ascending both individually and as a pair in the spirit. Spirit brought us together exactly 1 year to the date from the last time we seen each other, and this was not a planned. We had no control over this reunion. The only thing I can say is that we had the choice to surrender, right? Like, when the opportunity came about, I said, you know what, God, I trust you and I will heed the signs. And I prayed every step of the journey. Should I be going? And God, show me the way. Ancestors, angels, give me the signs. And they did. And they did. And the signs were loud. They were loud. They were very evident. And so I am just very grateful and thankful to my spirit team, to me, and to my twin, that we surrendered the connection to the divine. There's something to be said about that. On this stage of my journey, I have been very much like, God, what is it that you want for me? I noticed that when I stepped into purpose, when I started sharing my journey, when I started bringing messages of hope and resilience to others that's on this twin flame journey, I realized it started fueling my own path. So there is something to be said about that. Because one thing that is very evident about the twin flame journey, it is purpose driven. I keep saying that these are divine unions, okay? These are brought together by the divine. So when you are purpose driven, when you are focused on what God would have you do on this earth, and you step into that, that alignment starts to anchor in union. That's what I've noticed. So maybe someone needed to hear that. Consider that your soul's wake up call, right? In times of separation, I wanted to give a couple of love notes. One being, delay does not equal denial. When I look at the past year, it was a very challenging year as far as the spiritual lessons that was unfolding between myself and my twin flame, the realizations we had to come through, the spiritual warfare that was happening, the elevation, the ascension that was needed on this journey. It was intense. It was very intense. And with that being said, there was plenty of times that I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I cannot, like, how much am I to stomach? Like, there was a level of detachment that was necessary. I wouldn't say I 100% gave up. I think that on some level, I held space. I think that's the better analogy. I held space for healing, I would say. There were many times that my spirit team, the archangels, would communicate to me wisdom, information, or nuggets that I was just like, but we're not even talking. Like, we're not even talking. But I didn't resist the wisdom and knowledge. What I would do was I would take notes and create love notes. I guess they were kind of love notes in a way. I would create voice notes just in the event that I had a chance to relay these messages from spirit to him, then I could. There was a surrender that at some level we were connected in the spirit, and like it didn't matter the time, the distance, how long it's been since we haven't it really didn't matter. Like I was so tapped in. I was so tapped into the connection regardless, which could be very difficult. So like I said, I wanted to do love notes. So yes, delay does not equal the now. Consider that your soul's wake up call. Some of you may be in a season of separation still, physical separation, and there may be things that you're hoping, wishing, and praying for that are delayed at this time. I urge you to go in, go within, and connect with your spirit team, connect with your higher self. Ask them, what is my soul? What does my soul need to learn right now? What is it that you're communicating to me now? What is it that is in my energy that is not conducive to divine union? We must first come into union within ourselves. I keep saying you can only meet another as deep as you have met yourself. So this inner work is absolutely needed. One thing I will say, when spirit brought my twin flame back around and we started communicating in the physical, in the 3D, I knew he had been doing the work. He had been sitting with God. He had been praying and asking for direction. He had been in deep reflection because spirit was also relaying those messages to me, as well as I was also in my isolation season, right? And I understood there was a divine alignment that was necessary. We had to come to some realizations. We had to heal some things within. And all of that work, all of the hard work, looking at the shadows, facing truths, you know, even on my end, like, well, why did I attract this? Or what did my soul want to learn? Or how did I contribute to the separation or the delays in our timeline? Like, we went deep. We went deep. And we looked at the ugly places, right? The ugly things, the stuff that you don't really want to talk about, the things you don't really want to admit to sometimes. Like, we did the hard work, and with that being said, you know, this reunion, I was like, God has favored us. That was very evident that God was favoring us, that the divine had brought us together and said, okay, well done. Well done. It's time to reunite, right? If only for that time being. And another reason why I wanted to get on and connect to you all who are also on this journey was because after the reunion, it was like my energy, I was just so tired. I was so tired in a way that it no sleep was helping me. Like no sleeping, no naps. I can tell on a soul level, my soul was doing a lot of integrating, a lot of integrating. So I feel like once the twins have healed some things, and then it's almost like on a soul level, you both bring this wisdom and this information to one another. It's like the downloading of so many codes. And one thing that I want to highlight that spirit kept saying to me, and because this is actually also evidence of what I'm saying when I say there is things that will unlock because of the union. It's kind of laid out for the unions, right? So one thing that I noticed is that when I would be meditating, Spirit was highlighting, they keep saying to me, the universal codes of abundance and the universal law of abundance. Yes. Now, that commandment was like starting to be very loud. My soul kept like echoing that the more I was in the presence of my twin, and I was bringing this up to him, like, there is universal law of abundance. And I was bringing it to his awareness because on a soul level, our souls are receiving this vibration, this frequency, right? So I share that to say there are things and upgrades and downloads that are conducive to when the twins connect, when they come into union, when they reach a union status in spirit, when they reunite, even in the physical. There are things that are coming down, I would say, from the heavenlies. Absolutely. It's like I feel like I'm unloading a lot because it was a lot of energetic spiritual movement, if that makes sense. There was a lot of shifting. One other thing Spirit brought to me was the collapsing of the old timelines. Now, there is some lessons to be learned from this, okay? On my last episode, I spoke about looking too much in the past and not forgiving, right? Being in unforgiveness, and how unforgiveness could literally block your heart, and it could block your blessings. You won't be able to receive your blessings, right? So I've spoken about that. Now, with all that being said, we are all human, right? And so there were things on the journey that triggered me, that would bring me back to the past, even though I was sitting in what I would say a new timeline. Like, I'm sitting before my twin and he's sitting before me, and we are not the same. We have transformed so much, right? So even our dynamic cannot be the same, because we're not even the same, right? Like, we're not even the same. So when I got triggered, I would talk about the past or whatever, and it would bring us out of the frequency that was awarded to us in the present moment. So I share that to give you guys a nugget, because, like, don't be like me. Don't let it steal your joy. Recognize the season of the new beginning. Recognize and acknowledge the work that both of you have put in, because if you are at that stage, you earned that. You have earned that, right? So that's just like my reflection, my lesson, my little tidbit about that. Now, when I talk about collapsing timelines, there was something to be said by every decision that was made. It was like a ricochet. It was like he made a decision to, do something. And then he told me about it. And then I was just like, wait a minute, like, I feel like I want in on this, right? And so, but the original decision didn't have anything to do with me, but it ended up a divine timing of us reuniting. And so I also was like, you're right on time. When you're in alignment, the blessing cannot miss you. Nothing can miss you, because you are in alignment. You are in the frequency of what it is. The universe has no choice but to kind of deliver it to you, because you are in the frequency. So when I look at everything that was transpiring prior to this reunion, we were very much spiritually united. We were on the same accord. We were very intentional about showing up and healing some things, I would say. Now, anything else, I really surrender it to the divine. I didn't go with expectation. I just was like, okay, I just know I'm being led, because the signs were so evident. Like I said, we met up literally the same date a year ago. So, like, I couldn't ignore, like, stuff like that, right? And then once we decided what we were going to do, it seemed like the path unfolded. So there's something to be said about that, right? Like, once the two actually come into agreement, then forward movement it seems like the spirit team. It seemed like the angels and the ancestors, it's like the path started to like part like this. Like it started to clear the way for what we desired. Bless. As I'm sharing the story, I'm still reflecting on what has happened. What else, Spirit, do you want me to? Oh, yeah, collapsing. I'm sorry, I still didn't get into the collapsing timelines. Okay. So, when the decision was made, when we both came into agreement about meeting up, reuniting, right? Meeting, right? We collapsed the timeline of us not seeing each other, right? Because I don't think people are understanding that. Like, once we met up, once we reunited, that timeline of like the long year of reflection and healing and going through all that, we collapsed that timeline. We were on a new timeline. We were on a new frequency. The things that we are tackling are different now, right? So, because like I said, we are different versions of ourselves now, more healed versions of ourselves, more authentic versions of ourselves, right? More aligned versions of ourselves. So, Spirit wanted me to speak about how, at every level, your self love and your mastery of your gifts are still at the forefront. They are still at the forefront. They are still what is required and what is needed, right? So the reason why I say that is because, yes, I had this amazing reunion with my twin, but there were still challenges. It's almost like once we reemerged back to the real world, right? Like back to reality. I'm like, back to reality, right? And I would even say, even when we were on the trip, there were there were things. Life was lifing. Life was lifing. Life is always lifing, right? And so there was just like a level of balance that is needed, especially as the divine feminine, to anchor yourself and heal yourself and like tend to your needs and nurture yourself is so important, because if you are out of balance, then you bring that to the union. You bring it to both, if that makes sense, right? So that's very important. Loving yourself and putting your needs first, because if you're not good, we're not good, right? And that goes for both. Honestly, that goes for both the divine masculine and the divine feminine. But what I'm saying is, it's almost like it's easy to kind of get lost in the connection, like in the bliss. It's very tempting to lose yourself in a way. There's a need to balance these energies. Like I've learned that. As far as mastery of gifts, protection, spiritual protection being needed with these divine unions. And this was in the other video. I talked about Archangel Metatron showing me the Merkaba light body. What I've been noticing is that it takes me to consciously witness that shields of protection. I don't know if it's kind of like just to reactivate it. I don't know, but it's present. It is there. Over the two twins at a certain level when you ascend spiritually, but there is heavy energy of like evil eye, black magic, death magic, like a lot, right? And so it's like this go around, I've slayed a couple of demons. I've I've like reversed some dark magic. Like I've been very prayed up, very, very prayed up, and understanding the protection that's needed. Even the fact of being in the public eye, it's kind of like amplified, So these are hard earned lessons, right? And so you can't really slack. You can't be like, we together and no, it's like the work. The work is, you still need to be doing the work. Okay. I wish. Like, yeah, it's almost like it's amplified. Like the enemy works even harder to cast these illusions of separation. And so there is a need to remember, right? Like I call it a sacred pause. When I came back, I said this to my twin, like I take so many like voice notes, I journal, I have spiritual journals, and I have so many voice notes, like over 400 and something notes of my spiritual journey. And I said there was a need to take a sacred pause and look at everything God has delivered us through since this time last year. There was so many battles that was fought. And, they say what don't break you makes you stronger, right? So with that being said, the fact that we stand on the other side of it is a testimony to the strength, the very hard-earned strength, the up levelings of our gifts, of our understanding, our discernment, there was a need to remember, because the enemy will cast like illusions to you, or they may be periods of that is quiet, and you're like, what is going on, right? And so honestly, that's when the enemy gets louder, right? The enemy gets louder to try to say, it's not what you think. You guys are separated, da 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 da. But then you have to remember. You have to keep into a remembrance how far you came. They say, I didn't come this far just to come this far, right? What God puts together may no man or woman tear apart, right? So these are the things, these are the love notes. These are the love notes I want to share with you guys, right? So that you can war against an idle mind, right? You can war against the doubts, right? Because when you have fear and doubt in your system, it literally is going to repel the union. Literally, there is no way you're going to come into union and you doubt the path, because you won't have the courage to literally walk the path, right? Because you doubt it. You have to lean not on your own understanding, but what is God leading to you? What does God say about this union? One thing I will say, I started praying. I didn't pray for my twin flame. I stopped praying. I stopped praying that prayer. I stopped because first of all, I knew who my twin flame was. Like, it didn't matter what was happening in the ethers. It was known. It was understood he's my twin flame. So I stopped praying for that, right? And I started praying and I said, God, I pray for my God ordained partner. That has been my prayer. That has been my prayer, right? Like, that's how I refer to this person in spirits. Because a lot of people like to say, the twin flame union is toxic. All twin flames don't come together. There's all of this collective mindsets around twin flames, partially because a lot of people are not really meeting their twin flames. They're meeting a mirror. They're meeting a karmic partner. Maybe you guys had a soul lesson that you agreed to, but they're not, like, it's like they're here for a season, they're not here for the lifetime or whatever, so there's a lot of misconception around twin flames, right? So even to the point that I was over it, because I was like going through it. I was over it. And so I said, God, make this person known. I'm praying for my God ordained partner. And then I sit back and see who appear. I see who appear. I see, what is happening, right? Like, what is happening? Where is the favor? Because like I said, you're going to see blessings. You're going to see supernatural movements when you connect to your divine partner. That is a big sign of who is your partner. Like for me, I'm all the clairs, right? Clairvoyant, or like whatever. Like I'm not one with labels, but I hear from the divine. And one thing is that the heavens would always like echo or favor or get loud when it comes to this person. So it's almost like I could not ignore it in a way. You get what I'm saying? Like I couldn't ignore what I hear. I can't ignore when I receive revelation, prophecy around things, and then also my gifts will kind of like heighten too. It's almost like our energies are very complementary. Another love note for you guys is that separation is an illusion. It is an illusion. If this is your twin flame, if this is your God ordained partner, if this is your kingdom partner, spouse, the invisible thread of the divine is at play. Destiny is at play, right? So surrender to God, to the divine, the outcome, right? Because once again, it's put together. Just do your work. Like, do what you're called to do. Is it a podcast like me? Is it healing work that needs to be done? Is it starting a business? Is it coming into your self-love? Is it tapping into your inner child, doing inner child healing? That is important. That is important. One thing I noticed, and I'm guilty of this, I'm quite serious. Yeah, I'm a quite serious person, given it's my nature, based on the things I see, based on the work I do in the spirit for people. Like, I'm quite serious. But when I get with my twin, it's like he brings out like this like childlike energy in me, where I feel like free to play, free to laugh, free to be. Maybe I was a little too free. I ain't gonna lie. Maybe I was a little too free, because he was saying my head was in the clouds, but I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I never get to be like this. I never feel safe to be like this. You know, I'm quite often the protector. Like, I'm a spiritual warrior. I'm quite the protector and the watcher for a lot of people. And that consumes me, you know? And so when him and I got together, it was like I feel like I could play, if that makes sense. But that also, you know, that's like also the work that I need to do, right? Tapping more into my inner child, um, and playing and find what brings me joy, so I could tap into my joy even more, right? So that may help somebody. That may be, consider that your wake up call. So spirit is saying to me to relate to you. Trust the journey, trust your path, right? Trust that all is working out for you. All is coming together. Trust that. Because I know it's hard. I know, like, in the natural, it's like, how could this happen? How does it come together? You will break your brain. I promise you. I promise you. You will break your brain trying to design something that God is designing, that God is bringing together, because you just would be like, I would never have thought, like, oh my God, like, how that happened, or, you know, trust the timing. Trust the timing. Like I said, once you do the work to come into divine alignment, the universe has no choice but to deliver you that thing. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's love. If you tap into your self-love and you're loving yourself, and I mean truly loving yourself unconditionally, you're taking care of yourself, you lack nothing, that is when love comes to you. Because you quite frankly are that. You're radiating love. So your life, your interactions is going to mirror back love. Okay? That's why they always say, when you're loving yourself, you're not thinking about it, here comes your person. That's why. Right? Because you are filled. You're lacking nothing. When we feel like we're missing something, it puts us in chaser energy and we repel that very thing. This is same with money, right? Money is an energy. If you feel like, you know, you want to attract money, literally put yourself in the energy of abundance. Like, what makes you feel abundant? And a lot of times it's not money. It's not actually the money, right? It's the experience that money affords us, right? So you can go into a space, like I love to go to my local shopping place over here. And I always say it feels like a portal in there, because the elevation of like high-end stuff, it feels like money, right? So like I'll go there, attune my energy to this frequency, and then you become more of a magnet for those things, because you're matching the frequency. So as far as union, if you keep affirming separation, if you feel so separated, like honestly, if you are doing the work, you would know that like it's an illusion, because every time I'm in spirit, I see my twin. I see him in spirit, because he's part of my spirit. I see him, right? So I see his soul and we communicate. I can consciously communicate to him, right? I would say as lately, it was very rare to feel so separate, because I was so tapped into us. I'm saying if you're embodying union as within, so without, it has no choice. I'm like, of course we came into reunion in the physical. Of course we did, because we were very much doing the work in the spirit, right? So that's just a little another tidbit. I don't know if that helps somebody. I hope that blessed you. Consider that your soul's wake up call. You are not separate from your twin. Just come into divine alignment. So my loves, if you guys need help navigating your twin flame union, or if you need a reading, or if you need a healing session to help you come into more divine alignment and clear some blockages and limitations on your path, please reach out. I am the AmLove Oracle 1111. And till next time, stay blessed, stay loved. Blessed.